My name is Amelia Hayes, and I'm 27 years old. I used to believe love was enough, that if two people truly cared for each other, nothing could break them apart. But now, looking back, I realize that love alone isn't always enough to stand against pride, class, and family interference. I met Ethan about 6 years ago, back in college. I came from a simple background. My mom was a school teacher, my dad a mechanic. We didn't have much, but what we had was honest. Ethan, on the other hand, was from the kind of family you only read about in magazines. Old money, ancestral estates, generational wealth. We met in a literature class. At first I thought he wouldn't even notice me, but he did. He laughed at my dry humor, admired my work ethic, and seemed refreshingly uninterested in the world of privilege he came from. For the first time, I felt like my background wasn't a barrier. We spent hours together, studying, wandering the city, eating at food trucks, hiking trails just outside of town. Ethan once told me that I made him feel grounded, and I told myself that maybe this was proof love could bridge any gap. But his family didn't see it that way. The first holiday dinner at their sprawling house still lingers in my memory. I remember sitting at their enormous dining table, surrounded by crystal glasses and portraits of ancestors whose eyes seemed to judge me from gilded frames. His mother, Mrs. Thompson, tilted her head at me with that polite smile that felt sharp as a knife. "Oh, Amelia," she said, "how quaint that you repair your own car. Our family mechanic would never allow grease under my son's nails." His father was more direct. "So, Amelia, what are your long-term career plans?" His tone carried the weight of judgment, as if he was evaluating whether I was an investment worth making. I mentioned my engineering job at a mid-sized firm. He nodded, unimpressed, before launching into a lecture about ambition. And then there was Samantha, the so-called family friend. She was everything they wanted for Ethan. Polished, pedigreed, perfect. They shared private jokes from childhood, their parents vacationed together in Europe, and she seemed to glide effortlessly into their world. At first I brushed it off. Ethan reassured me constantly. "She means nothing," he'd say. "I choose you." And I wanted so badly to believe him. After graduation, Ethan and I moved in together. A tiny city apartment, cozy but ours. I worked overtime, even turned down a big promotion that required travel, because Ethan said he needed me close while he pursued his master's in art history. His family partially funded it, but the gaps, the rent, groceries, small luxuries, fell on me. I didn't complain. I wanted him to succeed. One winter, during his finals, Ethan was so stressed I barely saw him. I picked up double shifts to surprise him with a weekend getaway. When I gave it to him, he broke down in tears, calling me his rock. I believed him when he said he couldn't imagine life without me. But the pressure from his family never stopped. At every family event, they sat Samantha next to him, praising her achievements, reminiscing about their shared childhood. His mother once pulled me aside and whispered, "Amelia, you're a sweet girl, but Ethan needs someone who understands our world. It's not personal." Not personal. The words were a dagger. Ethan defended me, but I noticed small changes. After family dinners, he grew distant. At home, he'd compare himself to Samantha. "She's starting her own business. My parents are so proud. That's exciting, right?" I laughed it off, but inside I felt like I was competing with a ghost I could never banish. 4 years in, I proposed to Ethan. I had saved for months, and though it wasn't a diamond from his family's estate, the ring was mine, bought with sweat and sacrifice. He said yes, his voice thick with emotion, and for a moment, I believed we had defeated their disapproval. But the excitement faded. His family barely acknowledged it. Instead, the pressure to replace me with Samantha intensified. I endured it all. Silent dinners, side comments, being treated like an intruder in the life I thought I was building with him. At night, when Ethan slept, I lay awake, asking myself, was my love not enough? Was I just fooling myself, believing I belonged in a world that so clearly didn't want me? That thought haunted me more than their insults, because deep down I began to sense what was coming. The engagement should have been the happiest season of my life, but instead of joy, it became a battlefield I didn't sign up for. From the start, Ethan's parents insisted that the wedding be held at their estate. "It's tradition," his mother said, her smile hiding the iron beneath. They wanted to bankroll it, but only if everything was up to their standards. That meant endless control. Guest list curated by them, decor chosen by them, and of course, Samantha had to be invited. I tried to resist, but Ethan told me gently, "It's easier this way. They'll come around eventually." but they never did. At a pre-wedding brunch, Mrs. Thompson raised her glass and toasted to finding the right match for our children. Her eyes lingered on Samantha. Everyone laughed, the clinking of glasses echoing like a cruel inside joke. I sat there, my smile frozen in place, my heart sinking. Later that week, Ethan grew distant. He canceled dinner plans, claiming he was too busy. He stayed late at his parents' house, more often than at our apartment. When he did come home, his eyes were full of a strange heaviness, as though he was carrying a secret he couldn't share. And then it happened. I came home one evening, exhausted from work. The moment I stepped into the apartment, the air felt wrong. My stomach dropped when I saw the half-packed boxes by the door. Ethan sat on the couch, his face calm, almost rehearsed. "Amelia, we need to talk," he said, his tone eerily steady. My keys slipped from my hand. "What's going on?" He folded his arms, staring at me as though I was a stranger. "I've been thinking a lot. About us. About the future. My family, they'll never accept you. I can't keep fighting them. It's exhausting." I froze. "We're engaged, Ethan. We've built a life together." But he shook his head. "Amelia, come on. This apartment, your job, it's fine. But it's not the life I grew up with. Samantha fits. She always has. My family loves her. They know her. She belongs." His words tore through me like glass. "So what are you saying?" My voice cracked. He looked almost relieved when he said it. "I can't choose you over my family. It's easier this way." Easier. That word felt like a blade. 4 years of sacrifices, of sleepless nights, of choosing him over myself, reduced to an inconvenience. I wanted to scream, to ask why he said yes to the proposal if his heart was never mine. But when I looked at him, there was no regret, no hesitation, just the smug finality of someone who'd already chosen. He packed the last box and said coldly, "You're too passive, Amelia. You never fight for what you want." Samantha, she would. I stood there, numb, as he carried his things out. The silence that followed was deafening. The engagement ring he'd left on the table glistened mockingly under the light. That night, I sat on the couch, staring at the ghost of the life I thought we were building. Every sacrifice I made replayed in my mind, working double shifts for his getaway, skipping holidays with my own family to endure the cold stares of his, biting my tongue at every insult. And for what? For him to tell me I was never enough. I didn't beg, I didn't chase. Instead, I swallowed the poison of betrayal quietly. The next morning, I blocked his number, deleted his photos, and called the landlord to break our lease. I packed up my life into boxes and moved into a smaller place across town. No drama, no tears in front of him. Just silence. But inside, I was crumbling. The days after Ethan left blurred into one endless ache. I'd wake up in the new apartment, small, quiet, unfamiliar, and for a moment, I'd forget. Then reality hit. The empty side of the bed, the missing toothbrush, the silence where his laughter used to be. I didn't cry in front of anyone, but alone, the tears came in waves. At night, I'd replay his words. "You'll always be an outsider, Samantha Fitz." They echoed like a curse. But instead of drowning, I clung to something else. Survival. Work became my lifeline. The promotion I'd once turned down because Ethan wanted me close was still on the table. This time, I said yes. It meant longer hours, travel, and responsibilities that terrified me. But at least the exhaustion kept me from thinking too much. Slowly, I built a new rhythm. I joined a gym, started hiking again, alone at first, then with a local group I found online. With every step up a trail, lungs burning, muscles aching, I felt pieces of myself coming back. 1 year after the breakup, I did something I never thought I could. I bought a small house, not an estate, not something out of a glossy magazine, but a cozy 2-bedroom with peeling paint and a little yard. Mine. Paid for with my sweat, not anyone's inheritance. I remember standing in that empty living room, keys in hand, whispering to myself, "This is my home, my life. No one can take this away." And for the first time since Ethan left, I felt proud. Meanwhile, the whispers about Ethan and Samantha started trickling in through mutual friends. They'd married quickly, of course, at his family's estate. The pictures circulated online. Chandeliers, champagne fountains, her in a gown worth more than my car. On the surface, it was perfect. But perfection has cracks. I didn't look for the updates. I didn't stalk them. The information came to me, carried by acquaintances with that mix of pity and curiosity. Did you hear? Samantha's exhausted. Ethan doesn't lift a finger. He quit his job, said his family's connections would take care of him. He's been using his in-laws as a bank account. Business ideas that never go anywhere, just draining them. At first, I brushed it off. Not my business. But when I saw a photo someone showed me at a party, Samantha looking gaunt, forced smile plastered on her face, I felt something shift inside me. Not gloating, not joy, just vindication. This was the life they all fought so hard to push me out of. This was the easier path Ethan chose over me. And it was crumbling. I contrasted it with my own reality. I had a home, a career, friends who liked me for me, not my pedigree. No one sneering at my roots, no one comparing me to a ghost. My nights were quiet, sometimes lonely, but peaceful. One evening, after finishing a late project, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea. The sky was streaked with pink, and the yard buzzed with cicadas. For the first time, I realized I hadn't thought about Ethan in weeks. And when I did think of him, it wasn't with longing. It was with clarity. I had been loyal to a fault, blind to the truth. He never saw me as enough because he didn't have the strength to choose me. And now in my silence, I was finally free. But freedom, I would soon learn, doesn't stop the past from knocking at your door. It started quietly. 18 months had passed since Ethan walked out of my life, and by then, I rarely thought of him. My house felt like home, my career was stable, and I had friends who valued me. The wounds were still there, but they'd become scars instead of open cuts. Then, one morning, a text came in from an unknown number. "Hey, Amelia. Been thinking about you. How are you, E?" I stared at it, my chest tightening, not with longing, but with irritation. After everything, that was all he had to say? No apology, no acknowledgement, just fishing. I deleted it. A week later, another. "I miss our hikes. Coffee sometime?" Ignored. Then came the voicemail. His voice cracked through the speaker, trying to sound casual, but dripping with desperation. "Amelia, it's me. Look, I know I hurt you, but I was under so much pressure back then. She's not who I thought she was. I made a mistake. Can we talk? Please, I need a friend right now." A friend. My jaw clenched. After calling me an outsider, after throwing me away for something easier, now he wanted me to play comforter while his choices burned around him. I didn't respond, but Ethan wasn't done. Mutual friends started reaching out. Jake, an old college buddy, texted, "Amelia, Ethan asked me to talk to you. He's really sorry. Says his mom pushed him too hard. At least hear him out." I replied simply, "Not interested." But then Sarah, another friend, called me directly. "Amelia, listen, he's falling apart. Samantha treats him terribly. His family's in constant conflict. He admits he was wrong. Maybe you two could start over?" Her tone carried guilt, like I was the villain for refusing. "Sarah," I said firmly, "this isn't my problem. Tell him to work it out with his wife." Then I hung up. I thought that would end it. It didn't. One afternoon, I was leaving work when I saw him in the lobby. Ethan. He looked nothing like the polished man I once loved. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, his posture slouched. He rushed toward me. "Amelia, wait, please, just 5 minutes." I froze, then straightened my shoulders. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" His voice cracked. "I screwed up. Samantha's a nightmare. She doesn't care about me. My parents, God, they regret everything. They said they should never have let me push you away. Amelia, you were good to me. Reliable. You're what I need." Reliable. The word stung, like I was some steady backup plan. I met his eyes. "You told me I'd always be an outsider, remember?" He flinched, then reached for my hand. I was confused, pressured. "You know I didn't mean it." I pulled back. "You meant every word. And you chose them. You chose easy. Don't come to me now because your easy turned into hell." Anger flickered in his face. "You're being cruel. After all we had, you don't even care?" I let out a slow breath. "No, Ethan, I don't." I walked past him, my heels echoing in the lobby. Behind me, his voice cracked, first pleading, then bitter. "You'll regret this. No one else will put up with your boring little life." I didn't turn around. But it didn't stop there. A week later, my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made my stomach drop. "Mrs. Thompson." Against my better judgment, I answered. "Amelia, dear," her voice cooed, falsely sweet. "It's been too long. We miss you. We made a terrible mistake with Samantha. She's not family material, but you always were. Ethan needs you. We need you." I nearly laughed in the audacity. The same woman who once called me not one of us was now begging me to return, to fix the mess they created. "Mrs. Thompson," I said, my tone steady, Your family made its choice, and so did Ethan. This has nothing to do with me anymore. Her voice sharpened. Amelia, don't be stubborn. We can make this right, together. But I hung up before she could say another word. That night, I sat in my living room, staring at the blocked numbers piling up on my phone. Ethan, his mother. Even Samantha's sister had tried reaching out. They were circling me like vultures, desperate to drag me back into their dysfunction. But I wasn't the same Amelia anymore. They couldn't touch me. The pressure didn't stop overnight. Even after I blocked Ethan and his mother, messages trickled through mutual acquaintances, whispers at work events. They're miserable. He won't work. His family is at their breaking point. For a while, I ignored it, but there was always this faint dread that one day they'd corner me again. That day came during my housewarming party. It had been nearly 2 years since Ethan left me. My small home was finally furnished, decorated in little touches that were entirely mine, sunlit curtains, secondhand furniture polished into charm, walls covered with photos of hiking trips and dinners with friends. It wasn't grand, but it was alive with laughter that night. In the middle of pouring drinks, my phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it, but when I saw the caller ID, I froze. Mrs. Thompson, again. I stepped outside to take it, the cool night air brushing against my skin. Amelia, please, she said the moment I answered, her voice frantic, stripped of the arrogance I once knew. David's refusing to work, draining us dry, fights every day. Ethan is miserable. We all miss you. We were wrong. You were the steady one, the right one. How can we fix this? For a moment, I just stood there, listening to the faint laughter from inside my home, my real family now. Friends who cared, a life I had built brick by brick without them. Mrs. Thompson, I said finally, my voice calm but firm, I'm sorry you're unhappy with the son-in-law you chose, but that has nothing to do with me. Her voice cracked. Amelia, don't hang up. We can start over. But I ended the call. Then I blocked her number for good. As I walked back inside, my friends raised their glasses, unaware of the storm I'd just shut out. The warmth of the room wrapped around me like a shield. I smiled, not a bitter smile, not a triumphant one, just peace. Because I realized something important. I wasn't bitter anymore. I didn't need revenge, didn't crave karma. Their collapse was theirs to live with. Their regret was theirs to carry. Mine was a different story. I had rebuilt. I had grown. I had found joy in simplicity, strength in silence, and pride in everything I earned without compromise. Ethan once told me I'd always be an outsider, but he was wrong. I am no one's outsider. I belong in the life I built with my own 2 hands. And as I clinked my glass with my friends and laughter filled my home, I knew with absolute certainty this was my final goodbye.